Welcome, Sega fans. It's that time again, so do yourself a favour and plug yourself into the Sega Guys podcast. I'm Dan the Mega Driver, and with me as always is the crash to my Doom guy. It's James the Segaholic. Mate, how you doing?
Very good, mate. Here we are, 2025. Can you believe it? Terrifying. Getting old. Time's getting on. But we're back, mate. A brand new show. A brand new year. How's things?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Brand new year. Started off really toning down my social media presence at the moment. So apologies to anyone who's reaching out to me specifically on Discord or X or anywhere. I'm kind of trying to distance myself from it at the moment. But yeah, I think it's doing me a world of good, to be honest. Not getting into all that back and forth that some idiot, I think before the new year I was talking to. It's just you lose so much time doing that, mate. It's just focusing on what's important. That's what it's all about. But yeah, how about you?
Christmas is over, mate. All that planning that goes into everything, before the big day, and then you blink and it's over. We had the Disneyland Paris trip that we had a surprise for the girls, and obviously, like my youngest is only now 6 months old, but my oldest is about to turn 7, so she had no idea that we were going just before Christmas, and it was brilliant. We went over, and I was like, "Got to Disneyland. Oh, I can't be bothered going to. I'm doing it for the kids. I'm doing it for the kids." And then like I was there like a couple of hours, and it was like, "Oh, this is amazing." It's like so. It's the big kid in you definitely awakens whenever you go. But I just can't believe that it's all over and done with, and that's us back to normality. Glasgow is currently freezing right now. It's like every morning, like defrosting the car. Just like it's like
Yeah.
a big giant big ice cube, man, like -7, -8. It's like the electricity and gas companies are getting a fair whack of money out of me right now because my heating's blaring. So he's still wearing the tee, mate. It's just nice and
Yeah.
cozy in here.
So I've got the long sleeve shirt on. Although the heating at the time of recording would have just come on, but I don't have the radiators in here because the way the room is, the plug sockets are all right next to the radiators. So all my setup is against the radiator, and I don't want to start
That's
heating
just
stuff up and melting it.
just just turn everything on, mate, and just let the heat just come out the machines. That's that just
Yeah, it's the PC. The PC. I'm putting the most demanding game on there and running it, like overclocking everything on there. Heat the room up.
Mate, that's what happened when I got PS3 at launch. I had motor storms. See the heat that came off that bloody thing whenever it was running full pelt.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
unbelievable, man. Oof.
The original fat one was just like it was like a jet engine, wasn't it?
Aye,
Just
aye, mate.
spewing out fire, basically.
Aye. Like playing MotorStorm and it's just like just blaring. Nah.
Yeah, that and the
Aye.
360, they were amazing at the time. I still love the 360, but you play them now and they are noisy and they are clunk. It's not like retro Sega and that sort of generation stuff where you put the game in and you can use your own playing within seconds. Like you load up the 360 and it does the splash screen, then it has to boot up and it still has to try and connect to Xbox Live, even though that's not on anymore. Then it has to try and sign you in, and it just takes ages to start getting onto a game on both of those systems. So that was a different
I,
time, mate.
I don't know how I ever managed to have like a sneaky stealth go of a 360. Like, see, looking back, like, it's not as if the fans were like obscenely loud, but whenever you put a disc in, mate, it was like, like just constant, man. I don't know how I ever managed to play late at night with that without waking my wife up, honestly. So loud.
Yeah, mind you, that will start with the Dreamcast. First time played the Dreamcast at a friend's, I tried to sneak a go. I stayed at his. I tried to sneak a go while he was sleeping. I turned it on, and it started, and of course the memory card went beep. And
That's
that
it,
done
mate.
me.
It's aye. Aye. I remember I got Soul Calibur and I thought there was something wrong with my Dreamcast because now it goes, it clicks because it's constantly reading for the music.
Yeah.
But I remember sitting there going to Sam, "Do you hear that? Do you hear?" I'm like, "What's something wrong with this? That doesn't sound right."
Yeah,
Turned out it does that.
it always does it. It's like the I think it's like the Attrapmo music, it's like do, 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 and all you can hear is Laser Killer. But mate,
That's it, mate.
that's 1999. But we've just this is the first time that we're recording. Obviously, we had the SARU podcast go out at the start of the year, but this is our first time recording in 2025, and we're going to be talking about the best moments of 2024. And as a Sega year, mate, I think just generally it was a brilliant year in all as far as all was concerned, wasn't it? Like in whatever way you cut it, whatever you were interested in, there was something for you.
It was all angles, mate. You had modern Sega coming to the fore. You had, the retro scene was still alive and well, thriving. The homebrew scene was an absolute fire. And one Sega system in particular came to the fore. It came of age in the homebrew scene in 2024 after years of false dawn and disappointment. I would say we finally seen the Dreamcast flex its muscles in the
Yeah.
homebrew scene. But I, a really really busy year in terms of both retro and modern Sega.
Yeah, it was insane. So what we'll do is we'll go through our top 10 moments, kind of our top 10 stories for this year. So both in the retail arm, in the homebrew scene, and stuff that we've seen on the channel. So mate, we'll just go through these one by one. We won't go them particularly from this isn't a countdown. This is just in any particular order, but we'll just talk about 10 that we that were really meant something to us. So I'll come to you first, mate. I'm going to put you on the spot. What's the first moment that you want to talk about from 2024?
Oh, I mean, I'm not going to jump right in with the big one. I think we'll leave that one to near the end. But I think the one kind of story I think that I particularly enjoyed was the change in the narrative and the Saturn success story that you did. They're kind of they're two videos I think that they complement each other. They sit as a kind of pair, like ourselves. Um, but I obviously like the Shiro guys had done the change the narrative trailer, right? But always felt that trailer on its own, it said time to change the narrative, but it didn't tell you why. It didn't tell you why we had to change it, what the actual meaning behind it was in terms of any kind of depth. So that's why I thought, no, we can expand on that and kind of go into some real detail on why we believe that's the case. And I think it was a really a really positive message. I think obviously there was still some kind of kickback on it, the usual kind of stuff. Or you're trying to change history, rewrite history. No, it's just like I think it was a message that I think got put across brilliantly. I think both you and I gave really good arguments, from both a historical standpoint, a modern day standpoint, and obviously kind of personal perspectives as well, stories in there that just show why the Saturn, it's we've said it all along, it's like any new content these days, it doesn't have to be prefixed with the whole, it was a commercial failure. Like we know it was, right? But let's focus on what's happening now. Like you can't alter the past, but you can work to the future. And I think that's exactly what we're doing with the Saturn. So I thought it was really, really powerful. They changed the narrative trailer. But following on from that, to kind of go into like kind of the technical aspect of the Saturn and kind of personal memories of the Saturn, it really did flesh out that whole story. And as I say, obviously, my video kind of ended with some kind of personal stuff. Taking you on a tour of like the courses arcade and showing you where Charlie's was, and there was a kind of personal element to it, whereas yours was fully like personal. It was all personal to you, kind of thing. So, it's two really really good videos. I had, I like to say I had a ton of fun making mine. I'd be lying. It was a challenge. It was a video that grew horns, which is a term that you and I use on WhatsApp quite often. Like we'll start with an idea. I'll say to you, mate, I'm going to do a wee video, and then 3 months later, it's still not done. Well, that's what happened with
You
with the
just did.
Saturn one.
You had a newborn as well, though.
Aye, that's true. That's true. There was other elements that played it kind of into time, but yeah, that was the first video that I did roundabout.
Yeah.
Obviously the wee one being born, but aye, it was It's probably the video that I've done that I'm most proud of, for sure on the channel. Like I said, the one that I think it's both the most in depth and the most personal to me. And as I say, like if you couple it with your video, I think it just makes a really good argument, and it represents the Saturn in the modern day. I think both of them are just a united front that just really sells the system, mate, and tells you why it's so special.
Yeah, and it all is about changing that narrative because, and it does feel like that message is getting across. Well, I think hopefully part our videos are part of that, but there's just so much more to systems and commercial performance, and that's why I kind of distance myself from a lot of the discourse that's on X these days because it's all about console sales, even though it's apparent from all standpoints that really isn't the metric anymore. And arguably in terms of legacy, it never was. You don't see systems like the PC Engine and other ones get called failures. So there just seems to be this weird stigma, and I think hopefully we're doing a bit to dispel that, and we will continue to dispel that. But yeah, it was an absolutely amazing video that you did, mate. Absolutely knocked it out of the park. As you say, mine was more about my personal journey, because it feels like there's this perception that people bought this Sega console in the 90s and were just like, oh, this is shit. I got nothing to play on it. I wish I had a PlayStation, which isn't the case at all.
Uh,
The funny thing that I was thinking of the other day was, as Sega Saturn owners, we had played PlayStations and N64s. I had regular access to both, but I preferred the Sega Saturn. Whereas if you talk to a lot of people, especially those that go, one of the funny ones that I see online a lot these days is, oh, the games are too expensive. I've never played one. It's just like, well, that's why you don't like it because you never played it.
aye.
And it seems like the people that had the privilege of playing all of them do tend to enjoy the Sega Saturn a little bit more. That's just my perception of it. And yeah, sometimes the people that say that it's got no games and the games are too expensive, that kind of reeks of jealousy a little bit. And I think that the dislike of the console was born from that because they never did get the chance to play it. They didn't know about it. They don't want to admit that they didn't know about it. And now it's too late, and they want to go. Well, I didn't want it anyway. It's crap anyway, and it's a kind of a coping mechanism. But yeah, lots more to come, I would say as well, mate, in changing the narrative. I've got a few other video ideas. I've always got 100 in my head, but I think we're not done changing that narrative yet. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%, mate. It's the list that we've got either between us or individually, it just continues to get, added to. Like you could be sitting in the toilet and an idea comes to your head. It's like
Yeah,
get the notes app out,
yeah,
write it
exactly.
down before you forget.
Yeah, I think they've kind of I've got a couple of ideas for other videos of changing the perception of the Saturn, and maybe some changing the perception of a certain Sega Master System. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Cool.
8-bit's going to be a bit of a focus this year, I think, as well.
Yeah, 40 years old the Sega Master System is this year, or the Sega Mark III technically, but which is the
Aye.
Sega Master System. But Jesus, mate, talk about getting old and time going by. The Saturn 30th one hit hard. This is just
Aye. If we're still about for Saturn's 40th, mate, that'll be terrifying.
Oh, anyway, let's talk about 2024 again. Um, so I'm going to go into the next one. And when I was writing this list, I had them out as separate things. And I thought, no, we'll lump all these into one. So what I'm going to go with as a big Sega moment this year, and this is Sega in general, retail Sega is just the modern Sega output this year. And I just think from that perspective, Sega have hit it out of the park. Now, in terms of volume, it's not been as busy in terms of software releases as it has been in other years, but the sheer quality of what has come out this year has been inarguable. We started the year off really strong, first with Yakuza 8 or Like a Dragon at 8, Infinite Wealth, which was a fantastic game, up to the standard that the series set. Granted, I don't think the story was as polished as some of the other entries, but everything else about that game was absolutely stunning. Followed up the next month with Persona 3 Remake, which was absolutely phenomenal. My most played of the game of the year. I think I've stuck about 160 hours into that now. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm just trying to finish off the DLC. Then you had Unicorn Overlord, which I was playing just as you were joining the Zoom call just now. Can't put that down every 5 minutes. I got my Switch out playing that. Monkey Ball came out. Then you had Metaphor ReFantasio, which is my personal game of the year, and a lot of these games were nominated for awards like the Game Awards. Metaphor won Game of the Year at some other awards. So these are really high quality games. Then you round it off with Sonic, the third Sonic movie, which has been a massive success again. Really well received, and that ties into Sonic X Shadow Generations, which again, I was kind of dubious about whether they would whether they could remake Sonic Generations and improve on it, and they didn't. They kind of made tiny changes, and those tiny changes make a difference. And obviously, the Shadow Generations campaign is absolutely phenomenal. So all of that, it really is. And obviously, I think we might talk about one or two of the announcements that came, but Sega are in a really good place right now. Multiple Game of the Year contenders, fantastic output, and all of these games sold pretty well. The games are selling well, the films are performing well. So I think, yeah, previous years, mate, I think it might have been us talking mostly just about the homebrew scene, if a little bit of modern Sega. But this year, modern Sega have absolutely hit it out of the park, and hopefully that continues into next year. What with the new era stuff coming. So yeah, that's my first shout for a top Sega moment of 2024.
It's great to see them just going from strength to strength, mate. As you said, the output is incredible. The quality of the games is through the roof, and it's that you laugh, you obviously, but we kind of joke and kind of mock the whole Xbox have to acquire Sega. Like Sega are doing absolutely amazing by themselves. It's you go back to Utsumi's comments, and we wouldn't dwell on those too much because we've got a separate show about them. But he's talking about embracing modern gamers. Well, they should as hell have this year.
Yeah, yeah, and it's quite funny talking about acquisitions and stuff. I don't think out of anyone anywhere there has been a better acquisition for anyone than Atlas for Sega. Three of those 5 games, for 3 of those 6 games that I mentioned are from Atlas, and they're all ones that have again won multiple awards. So Atlas just absolutely phenomenal. What will come this year, 2025, we'll see, but. Yeah, the future is looking good, mate. So big shout out to Modern Sega for that one.
Yeah, as you say, mate, hopefully this year we start to see some more, stuff about the new era, new energy stuff. We start to maybe see some gameplay of those, see the direction that these new games, these new versions of Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio are taking. Golden Axe, Shinobi, let's get some actual gameplay this year, hopefully, and see just where they're going with these games.
Yeah, because I was just trying to think. I don't think we saw any update on any of those apart from Crazy Taxi last year. There was obviously the big, development video for Crazy Taxi,
That was
but
it.
that was it. The Shinobi reboot, which I think is coming from Lizard Cube, who did Streets of Rage 4 and the Wonder Boy the Dragon's Track remake. That one would seem to me out of all of them the most fully fleshed out one. You know, Golden Axe looks a bit proof of concept, so did Streets of Rage. So did Crazy Taxi a little bit, but the Shinobi one looked like the one that was furthest along. So we'll see. I'd love to. I've been on a real Shinobi buzz lately. Finished off Revenge of Shinobi recently. Been playing the Neo Geo version of the Neo Geo port of Shinobi Arcade. So I'm like, give me all the Shinobi. Give it to me now.
Got some Shinobi for you. Got some Shinobi.
There it is, just throwing it out like shurikens.
Mm.
So, mate, we'll come back to you. What's a gaming moment for Sega from 2024 you want to talk about?
Well, I'm going to move to the homebrew scene, and we're going to go to the Mega Drive for this one. And it's something that I've been following, quite closely for the channel since it was announced. You obviously picked up an update while I was away dealing with newborn baby. But Final Fight MD, I think seeing that really coming together now. We've got five, is it five? Five stages we've got
Yeah.
now. Stage six is now well underway in terms of, Mauro working away on it and tweaking it. And it's been amazing just to watch as he's kind of this year especially. There was a wee kind of break, I think towards the end of the previous year where he had a wee bit of a kind of health scare. It was his eyesight, and he's came back and he's fighting fit and he's went right back into it. And you know, seeing that journey of where it's been, the palette changes, the colours. He's using the colour palette of the Mega Drive to great effect. It's nowhere near the arcade boards kind of vibrant colours, but he's still somehow managing to kind of recreate that arcade look. We had the issue where he had the cumulative slowdown where the game would basically kind of hog RAM in the background, and it would, as the game went on, it would start to kind of really start to slow down. He fixed that. Obviously he's got two different modes. You can have 30 FPS with more enemies, 60 FPS with less, but all the characters are in there. The animations look great. Even stuff like the subway level having the kind of parallax where the train comes in and it rumbles and vibrates as you walk through it. All the wee touches that are in the arcade game that you would think that how's the Mega Drive going to handle that, and it handles everything. And it's absolutely amazing to play. I put the latest build on the Mega Drive and had it hooked up to the CRT at the time, and it was glorious, mate. It was like it just looks so good. And as I say, it plays absolutely amazing. As Final Fight's a game that yourself, I've got massive history with Final Fight and that school trip to France, and it was the arcade machine in the foyer at the hotel, and it was my when I first was introduced to it. We conquered it at Arcade Club, mate.
We did.
After about 80 continues. Not as
Long live
bad as
free play.
Terminator. Aye, long live free play, mate. Not, thank God. So if Terminator 2 would have wiped us out. But I know Final Fight MD is looking great. Hopefully this year we get to see it finished. It was another one of those kind of projects as well where I think there was a lot of like kind of skepticism as well when you seen it in the comments, and I think there's a wee bit of entitlement. There's too much entitlement actually, I think, in
Yeah.
homebrew. People with unrealistic expectations of people. Why isn't this finished yet? Or this will never get finished. It's like, well, look, these guys are making this stuff for free and they don't need to release it. Like, there's projects out there that get worked on that never see any light of day. Like, people maybe in the scene will be told, we're working on this, have a look at it, but we'll never actually see it. You'll never get to play it. A lot of these developers, like, they'll do this stuff for them. It's just to prove to themselves that they can do it.
Yeah.
It's like J.N. Martin's Doom 64. I was on the Discord and he was talking away. He was doing kind of like back and forth with people about kind of bug tests and stuff like that. And that's what he was saying. It's like, he started that project. It was for him. Like, he loves Doom and he loved that version and he wanted to see if he could port it to Dreamcast. We're just really fortunate that he decided to let people compile a build to play it, but yet people still get overly entitled and go, give me a link. Well, you're not entitled to a link, because if a link is out there, it goes on CD Romance, it then ends up on Etsy and it ends up in a repro, and then people are making money off of somebody's work that was a passion project, and it's wrong.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to the homebrew stuff, just let these people work at the pace that they're able to work at. And with Mauro, as I say, had that wee kind of health scare, and he's come back, and it's just going from strength to strength, mate. I mean, I've no doubt that he is going to finish it. And whenever he does, we'll be there to report on it and see how stage 6 is doing, because that is going to be the biggest challenge, I think, for the Mega Drive, that stage, because in the arcade version, Jesus Christ, man, how many enemies does that game throw at you in that last stage? It's madness. But
Yeah.
it's brilliant. I love it. It's been great following it. As I say, from the very start all the way through. And can't wait to see it get finished, mate, because it will be finished. But when that happens this year, who knows? But looking forward to it.
Yeah, it came on leaps and bounds last year. Really was impressive to see. It was quite funny because it all went a bit quiet and obviously he had his health scare. But and I think part of it was also that he was in some sort of negotiations with Capcom.
Yes.
And part of his update was saying that he was frustrated with those because I think
Mm-hmm.
he did want to see kind of a retail release of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and he kind of sounded like he was messed around. So he kind of went all Thanos, didn't he? Like, I'll do it myself.
I literally, that was the update, mate. That was the
Yeah,
exact wording. I'll do it my way.
yeah.
So fair enough.
And yeah, he's just really hit the ground running. And the impressive thing is he's been doing that while working on this other game that he's doing as well. So hats
I
off to the
drift,
guy.
drift and rage as
That's the
well.
one, yeah.
The racing game. Yeah.
So yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, I played it while you were, kind of. I suppose it's parental leave almost. That you were, yeah, taking a break with your new daughter. So got the chance to play a bit, and it is absolutely phenomenal. So we'll see where this year takes us. It will be absolutely phenomenal to see that come to fruition. Be final. Um, So we'll see where we end up. But yeah, what a fantastic homebrew project, mate.
Aye. One of the
Uh,
best.
yeah. Speaking of fantastic homebrew projects coming from Brazil, I'm gonna go on a similar path to you, mate. I'm gonna stick to the Mega Drive and talk about Real Bout Genesis, which was a surprise, and this one did get completed. This was the passion project of Rio Gamer. Using the engine. I think it uses the engine that was made by Game Dev Boss. So that whole scene down in Brazil, utterly fantastic game. Does away with kind of the multiple planes that you see in other Fatal Fury games, and it really resembles kind of the PlayStation 1 version of Real Bout. To see it, the characters are huge, they're bold, they're colourful. The game just doesn't miss a beat. It's really fluid. The backgrounds are stunning. You've got all these mechanics in there, and it plays like a retail, fighting game. And as a result, it's almost instantly one of the best fighting games on the Mega Drive. It's absolutely outstanding. So you got all these mechanics in there. You got a great cast in there. You got new characters. You got that version of Krauser that you can play as. The sad news about that one is it did spark off a bit of an issue over in the Brazilian scene, just because people were selling repros. Obviously, there was an awful lot of discussion around. You see it quite a lot in games, more so now because don't buy if you paid for this. Don't buy this game and all those sort of messages, etc. And that had happened with this game. It'd gone onto a seller's website and they were selling repros of it, which obviously puts everything at risk, puts the developers in hot water
Right.
potentially. So that really did put the scene in danger at one point. I think that's been resolved now, hopefully. And we are seeing the scene gather pace down there again. But there's some supremely talented people down there doing absolutely phenomenal stuff, and this was really one of the crowning outcomes. One of the biggest games to come out of there because it was complete. It was fantastic to play. Did a video on it, and yeah, mate, I think it's absolutely a highlight on the homebrew scene last year.
I remember whenever I booted that up, I just remember going, "What?" It was like to see it moving again. Stuff like that, especially the kind of the big arcade ports. I like to try and make sure the Mega Drive's on the CRT to try them. Just like you get that kind of more arcade kind of glow off of the
Yeah,
the CRT. And again, like Real Bout, was it Real Bout Genesis they called it?
yeah,
It's insane, like you said, mate. Like, the fighters are giant, like it's and they're so well animated. The backgrounds are beautiful. The roster's large. It's just there's so much going on. Like you said, like people again selling repros, exactly the kind of crap that we just spoke about, in the previous kind of game, Final Fight MD and stuff like that. It's just, oh, why do people do this shit, man? like you're just risking everything. People could just easily clamp up and go, you know what, I'm just not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
It's could put people off that maybe got projects as well, but
That's what
ah,
happened to the scene. Lots of people who kind of protested this. It eventually got resolved, but there was a lot of people, game dev boss, everyone in that scene was just like, "Well, we're not doing it anymore because the scene's being put in danger by this company that's selling our repros without permission." So
oh,
thankfully, it got resolved. But you can't blame the guys. They're doing stuff as a passion project, and then
aye.
they're getting being put at risk by like cease and desist letters and legal action and everything because of some idiots trying to make a quick buck off of their work.
Aye. And that Brazilian scene, mate, you said, you're the Rio Gamer, you've got Master Linkway, you've got Pyron, you've got Mauro. It's a hotbed of insanely talented people. Like, I had mentioned whenever they said on the one of the Shiro shows that it was at Emerald that said that next year the Sega Extreme competition is now going to be all Sega. This is the last year that it's Saturn only. And I said, well, if you open it up, man, Mega Drive's going to clean up. Well, until recent kind of Dreamcast, obviously, releases. But the Mega Drive scene is going to, especially the Brazilian guys, if they put entries into that next year, mate, they could walk away with stuff because that whole scene is incredible. And like there was like Master Linkway, he did that Star Wars holiday special game.
Yeah.
Mate, it's based on Super Star Wars, and it's kind of tied into that really cheesy Star Wars holiday special. But like he did that in like 20 days. Mate, and people were going like again, like seeing like kind of comments and stuff on X, people going, well, why would you do that? And you're like, well, but the guy's literally that talented that in 20 days, in between his day job and his other projects, he's put that together. I'm like, does that resonate? This guy's just threw this together in 20 days. That's what I'm talking about. These guys are just insanely talented, and we're really, really lucky to have them. Putting out the level of game like these games that they're putting out, they don't look like demos or homebrew. They look, as you said, mate, they look and play like retail releases, and that's the most impressive thing about it.
Well, they play better. They look and play better than retail releases in some
Mm.
cases. Look at Master Linkway's Mortal Kombat Arcade Edition,
Oh man,
and one of the most exciting projects that I haven't seen an update on it in a while. But Omega Street Fighter 2
that's right.
looks absolutely phenomenal, and I think it was Game Dev Boss that was on his Twitter at the time was doing updates showing that the Mega Drive can do much bigger sprites than the original ports of Street Fighter 2 did.
Mm.
I'm saying that is a victim of basically just porting over the SNES sprites when it could actually do much more. And it was showing these big detailed versions of Zangief where he's a lot bigger, a lot cleaner.
Mm.
So that's, rather than them just taking the existing Street Fighter and just throwing a couple of characters in there, it looks like they're completely rebuilding it. And it looks, from the stills and everything, it looks absolutely sensational. And obviously you've got stuff like X-Men versus Street Fighter on the Mega Drive and everything as well. It
That's
just
right. It's like,
just the sheer audacity of it all.
what can we make this time? It's like, but you see the size of the sprites in Real Bout Genesis.
Yeah,
So when you see that, hmm,
I
hopefully
know.
we get some Omega Street Fighter 2 this year, mate.
Hopefully, mate. Yeah, 2025 from that scene. It's going to be interesting. But yes, mate, moving on. So what's the next Sega moment you'd like to talk about from 2024?
Oh, let's have a look here, shall we? This vast list that we've got. Um, I will talk about Crash Bandicoot by Frogbull. Again, homebrew stuff. We were privileged to have a demo sent to us by Frogbull to try out his Crash Bandicoot demo. And again, it was just quite surreal to see this PlayStation icon, which has now since become a multi-platform icon. But to us, I think Crash Bandicoot will always be synonymous with PlayStation, given when we kind of grew up. But to see, and actually get your hands on one of Frogbull's projects was brilliant. Again, whenever he did the Metal Gear Solid stuff, people called it fake. He did the Final Fantasy VII stuff, people called it fake. His videos are doctored and he's not actually running it off of a real Saturn with a fan reinstalled, and no, I say he sent us that demo for Crash, and for all intents and purposes, mate, having built it for the ground up, I know it's only one level. It's obviously the bridge. What's the name of the level again?
Bridge to Nowhere.
Bridge to Nowhere, that's it. And the fog effects that he's got going on there, using VDP2 to create that kind of scrolling fog that goes across, making the jumps a bit harder. Obviously, the demo's only the jumps. There's no actual enemies on there. And it's just like as it goes on, it's kind of more difficult. So you get like maybe the gaps. The other side, it's like maybe like a wider platform, maybe 3 or 4 planks of wood. But as you go on, past each kind of section of the bridge, you're having to jump into like single planks, and you can't just do a single jump and wait. You've got to kind of try and get your succession of several jumps in a row. And again, it was great to just actually see it running. It ran well. Again, these demos that Frogbill does, they're not they're not going to be full games. Again, people go, does Frogbill ever finish anything? It's like, well, no, and he's not going to, because like the whole point of these, they're proof of concept demos, which is a different thing altogether from like the Brazilian scene for the Mega Drive, where they're actually wanting to make full games. But I think Frogbill's kind of angle is that he wants to just show that Saturn could do these games. So he's picking a certain level or a scene or a moment, and he's rebuilding it. Like with Metal Gear Solid, he's still working away on it in the background. He's building it up now. You've seen, obviously, you've had the opening level of Metal Gear Solid, and it gets to the lift to go up, and it cuts out. But he's actually working on Shadow Moses if you go up the lift.
Mhm.
So he is going to flesh that out. But again, it's a common theme with the homebrew stuff. The reason why he's not putting anything out there is because even if it is only the Bridge to Nowhere, even if it is only Shadow Moses, even if it is only the opening battle with the Scorpion kind of robot for Final Fantasy VII, some unscrupulous bastard is going to put it on a disc and put it in a box and sell it, just so people can turn around on their shelf and go, I've got Final Fantasy for the Saturn. It's
Yeah.
like, no, so he's very closely guarded with it. But as a tech demo, I thought it controlled well. I thought he captured Crash's mannerisms perfectly. You can have him, he can turn to the camera and have him taunt, make faces. He's impatient poses if you don't move. Kind of glance from side to side, the wee eyebrow going up and stuff like that. So he absolutely nailed it. And it was just great fun. We did a video on it, and again, I remember some comments saying it was like 25 minutes of watching somebody just jump across gaps. We knew, because the gameplay aspect of it was quite limited, that just a video on its own wouldn't kind of work. That's why we did a kind of mini kind of pod. We sat and kind of had the footage running as we spoke about it. But taking it for what it is, a tech demo, the use of VDP2 for the kind of transparent fog, the textures on the bridge, the pillars, Crash's animations, his facial expressions, all that kind of into one package. It was great to see, and it was a lot of fun to try out.
Yeah, it really was. It plays fantastic as well. I mean, I'd argue that maybe it plays from a gameplay perspective. I prefer it to the Insane trilogy, which I was trying again the other day, and guess what level I'm stuck on and can't get past for the life of me. It's the Bridge to Nowhere level, and that's why I knew the name, because I tried it the other day. Uh, I enjoyed it a lot playing it on the Sega Saturn, which is a testament to Frogball's implementation of it. And yeah, it's like you say, mate, the way the character moved, the way that the effects that were on there. Yeah, we didn't get the enemies or anything like that, but we did get, as a proof of concept, showing that the level could be rendered and that Crash could behave that way, is a testament to Frogball's skills. So whether anyone is able to take that and run with it maybe one day. I know Frogball's, I think he's probably done with that now, but yeah, it'd be nice to see if someone could see if we could move the rest of Crash Band, but it'd be a massive undertaking. But
Yeah.
all these games, Final Fantasy VII, Metal Gear Solid, the games that the Sega Saturn couldn't do, we're seeing them now. And yeah, we'll probably talk about another impossible port to a Sega system later,
Hmm.
which Frogger also had a hand
Yes. No, I mean he's everywhere, mate.
in.
He's
He is.
everywhere.
So next one I'm going to talk about, and I think there's an awful lot of controversy around this one, which is understandable. But I think the fact that people got to play it, that we got to see some progress on another version of it, and that it just underlined how much people are desperate for this game, is worth shouting out as a good news story this year, and that's the Princess Crown translation.
Mm.
This one, obviously, let's put the drama to the side. Obviously, there was some drama because obviously the guy that posted the update for Princess Crown version zero point 0.3 on GitHub, made it available for people to load onto their Sega Saturns. Took some code from the original translators and creators, and yeah, didn't ask permission, and took like their unfinished build. Now, the good news of that really was that people got to play a version in English. As janky as it kind of was, it just showed that people wanted this and that they're desperate for it. And I played a massive chunk of it. I've got Princess Crown on the shelf there, and I've wanted to play a translated version of it for forever. And yeah, getting to finally play it was absolutely fantastic. Despite all the drama that went around it. What we did get to see, and what Pandemonium was great, was obviously he's got a great relationship with the individuals that are making the original version, and we got an update on their ports. Obviously, they've been very busy, and again, it kind of comes down to what you were saying, mate. People feel that they're entitled to this sort of stuff.
Hmm.
People are chasing them, and it's like they don't have to give updates every few months, or they give updates as and when they're people with day jobs, they're busy people, but they once this version came out, they took the time to show their version, their update, which was 0.9, wasn't it? It's almost there, and that looked utterly sensational.
Mm.
The way that the font was set, the dialogue that had been translated looks absolutely amazing. So yeah, I know that there is a lot of negativity and kind of bad feeling around how the way that everything went down, the way that this transpired really isn't how it should have done. But I think if you take the positives out of it, what we've got a version of Princess Crown that's playable, mostly playable in English. There's a bunch of bugs in there, but I think that we also got an update on what is going to be the premium fan project for Princess Crown. Then that is really something. That insight, that clip that we saw, it looks absolutely phenomenal. And I think now there are three competing fan projects to translate this. There's, there's obviously the original one, the original translation. Then there's the translation that splintered out from the zero point 0.3 that was released, and then the translator for that has splintered off and said that they're doing their own translation, which is going to be fully uncensored. Which I thought it was uncensored anyway. Who knows? But look, it's all good, mate. More people trying their hand at this. Don't steal other people's work without permission, I suppose, is kind of the lesson here. But more people getting into these projects, and people can choose which one that is best suits them. But overall, I thought the outcome was great, even if the journey to get there, not so much.
It was a weird one because like I remember obviously the story broke that there was a Princess Crown translation. Like was it Pat done a video on it for Shiro? Then
Hmm.
we did our video for it, and then in the kind of hours that followed, because you were on that like a flash, you were right on that, and obviously after the video went out, all this kind of stuff came to a head. Obviously was it Eadmaster who did his port?
That's it.
He
Yeah,
used an old fork off of GitHub, um, and the whole legalities, and it's like you should ask permission, and he's arguing that he didn't have to because it was a public fork and all that kind of. I don't know the ins and outs of that, but common courtesy where you would think you would ask if you're using someone's work, then give them the courtesy of asking. But yeah, Sam I Am and Cyber Warrior X then came out and showed what they were working on. And again, people are going, because has it not been like years and years since there's been any kind of word on this?
Yeah,
And people are saying, well, why did it take Master doing his version and making it public to prompt a response for you guys? And they're saying, well, there could have been maybe a wee update along the way to say, well, look, hey, we are still working on it. But by all accounts, on Sega Extreme, they had never said they weren't not working on it
yeah,
anymore. They had never officially come out and said, well, we're done with this, you know. So their hand was kind of forced in a way to kind of come out and show what they were working on, which again goes back to that whole entitlement thing. You know, it's like there's no, you know, they're not meant to just come out and just work to what other people want them to do. It's like they don't jump to other people's beat. You know, it's like if they've got something in the back that they're working on and they don't quite want it to, maybe they were wanting to wait till it was completely finished and then have a big, well, hey, here we go, it's done. But yeah, the rabbit's out the hat, so to say now. But it's like a bus mate. You wait for one translation, then three come along into it. It's like it's aye, it's a game that, you know, personally speaking, it's not a genre that I'm into, but it's a game that obviously I'm very very aware of in the community, that there has been a real hankering for it to be playable in English. And I know, I think the Master builders, is there a glitch that you have to, is there
yes,
kind of like a save swap or something you have to
yeah,
do? So it's still Masters, you know, translation at this point isn't, you know, anywhere near optimized. Um, when Sam I Am and Cyber Warrior X's one's ready, who knows? Will it be this year? Who knows? It'll be done when it's done. That's the motto of these
yeah,
things.
yeah,
And if you really are desperate to play it, then at least there's something out there that lets you do it in the meantime. But looking at the video that we've seen from Sam I Am and Cyber Warrior X and their version, you know, the font's lovely, it all fits in the wee text boxes nicely. It just looks again like it would be had it been done at retail.
yeah, yeah.
So
Perhaps again even better. So yeah, as I say, in terms of good news stories, not the way that it should have panned out. A lot of the dialogue there
yeah,
was disappointing, but you know, the good news is that we did get an update on that. It looked absolutely sensational. And then we did get a playable version, albeit with some issues. That people can enjoy it if they choose to, and there are now free translations progressing on that game. So, you know, especially playing Unicorn Overlord, you know, which has got a very, obviously, very modern version of that art style. It's not as pixelated. It looks a lot more hand drawn, but you know, the way the characters move and the way that they animate is all, especially in the cutscene versions, it's all very similar. And that's, you know, obviously Vanillaware are that old Princess Crown team. They all came from that. So yeah, really whetted the appetite for that. And obviously, you know, seeing the translation is phenomenal. So hopefully one day, mate, we'll you know, not hopefully not too far away. It looked like it was almost there. Fantastic work from Cyber Warrior X and Sam I Am. So we will see, mate. But yeah, great to see that progressing. So come back to you, mate. What's your next Sega moment?
this one I'm going to go with the rise of Saru. I think this year, really come to the fore, especially the second half of the year. You know, firmware 0.6 and then recently 0.7. You know, adding more compatibility, you know, adding more features, able to, you know, transfer saves between the cartridge and the internal memory. You know, cover art on there as well is as janky as it may be implemented, and it doesn't quite sit within the kind of confines of the menu layout quite right yet, but they'll work on it, you know. So it's been great to see something that went from almost a dirty word, you know, Saru. You know, there's that janky Chinese ODE cartridge thing. To seeing so many people picking it up and enjoying it. Um, and you and I have spoken about this kind of on kind of WhatsApp conversations and privately as well. It's like I think that there is an element of snobbery around Saru or towards Saru because of its where it's from in terms of the kind of the fact that it was like somebody's blueprint 10 years ago, and then it's been kind of taken on board by other manufacturers who are making their own versions of it. And there's like beveled edges and unbeveled edges and old chips and new chips. And there's, it's a bit of a minefield to kind of buy one. I think if you need to go on and have a right good look at reviews and make sure you're buying the right version. Whenever you click on you go on AliExpress, and there's like different versions down the bottom. Make sure you're picking the right one before you kind of check out. But you know, I think retro gaming in terms of mods as well, there's a real issue with anything that's cheaper being viewed as being significantly inferior, right? And it's like if you don't go out of your way to spend 300 quid on a satiator, then you're not a real Saturn gamer kind of thing. It's like I've went on record. I'll go on record again. I don't think satiator's worth the money. I think if you live in the EU or UK, you're looking at 300 plus quid to get one in. And I can't sit here. I know obviously there's more compatibility, with kind of homebrew stuff. But if you're just someone who is new to Sega Saturn, or you're coming back to Sega Saturn after decades away, and you just want to play the retail games, and you're not fussed about homebrew, and you're not fussed about any kind of like bells and whistles, so to speak, you just want something to plug into your Saturn and start playing games, mate, they're about 35 to 40 odd quid.
Yeah.
Like you cannot go wrong with that. It's like you've got to look at each of these options as kind of like horses for courses kind of thing. And I think having an option at all levels is great. I've said before, it's ironic that the machine that nobody wanted in the 90s is the machine that's got all the innovations and mods. It's like finding ways to play these games, lowering that barrier of entry. People go on, you said it earlier, people that go, oh, it's too expensive. I don't want to get into Saturn, it's too expensive. No, it really isn't, not anymore. It's just not an argument. There's so many ways to get into it, but in the main, when I've been playing games on Saru, yeah, it's got kind of little kind of maybe games will freeze here and there. You know, like if you leave a game running in a track mode for too long, like certain games will run in a track mode for hours. Like I've had Dragon Force sitting on as a track mode for like 2.5 hours. Whereas Sega Rally, if you leave it on as a track mode for like 40 odd minutes, it will just freeze. But if you play the game for 40 minutes, it will just keep going and going and going and going as normal. So there's this kind of stigma, I think, that because it's so cheap that it's bad. But remember, the firmware's not even at version 1 yet.
No.
We're still on 0.7. And TP Unix is working away on updates all the time. He's adding features. There's a community out there that are working out the config files to add, timings and load speeds to try and kind of get games to work a bit better. So the fact that it is so open source, that there's so many people working on it, there's a community that's really, really passionate about it. I've been really taken aback by the response to the 0.7 firmware video. Over 9,000 views on that video. People still coming to it, still finding it, still using it, the guide to set up their SD card, to see what the new features are. The comment section is really, really vibrant on it. I've tried to help some people as well, because there's been like kind of people saying they can't get it to work and why is this, and I'm trying to kind of help them as well. So it's been great to see the kind of rise of Saru, that so many people are picking one up, and whenever they actually try it, they go, you know what, for what I want to do, it works.
Yeah.
Like the load speeds are great. You can now transfer data between internal and cartridge, like I said. So you're kind of ticking off features, that people kind of bat back and go, well, it can't do this. Well, now it can. It's just continuing to get better and better, and I'm really excited to see, what's going to happen in 2025 for Saru firmware. Like the cover.bin file that's included in 0.7, it's got all the artwork. Not every game has an artwork image. So like certain games like Capcom Generation 5 doesn't have one, for example, right? But TP Unix has said he's going to allow people to edit the cover.bin file. to add your own artwork. So if you want all PAL artwork or all Japanese artwork, then you can spend time and do it yourself if you want. So I mean, it's been great to see the rise of it this year. I think especially the last kind of 6 months.
Yeah, it really has. It's been one of the biggest stories I think this year. It just seemed to be kind of sitting in the background. And I remember when it was first shown by, I think Dave showed it maybe
Mm-hmm.
2023, maybe even before then, and he was talking about this, this flash card that sits in the cartridge slot of the Saturn. I was like, "Ah, that card slot's finicky. I can't ever see that working." But
Mm-hmm.
been surprised, I've been pleasantly surprised, and the car itself is absolutely sensational. The load speeds, it's kind of my daily driver now. I use that to play my Sega Saturn more than I do on my desks and my Fenrir, just because it's kind of
Aye.
convenient and it loads faster. I find that I find the menu actually a lot faster than say Fenrir. And it's a decent UI as well. I've got to be honest. I've
Mm-hmm.
not used a mode, but I have used the satiator, and I wasn't blown away by the satiator. I had a number of issues getting it to work on various Sega Saturns because I was testing it out for a
That's right,
friend of yeah
Videopolis,
for
aye.
for Videopolis,
Aye.
yeah, a friend of the show. And it worked in some Saturns, not in the others, and then it didn't. The compatibility I found was a bit hit and miss. I don't know if it's because of the Saturns I was using it with, but yeah, it wasn't kind of like Fenrir, and it certainly wasn't like SARU, which is literally plug and play. You load your files in, plug it in, and away you go. So yeah, I agree, mate. Gaming is this weird thing, and you don't see it just in retro gaming. It's gaming in general is just where people kind of celebrate spending more money than they need to.
Aye.
It's like Game Pass. There's this thing on people for people calling it welfare pass. It's just like people
Welfare
should,
pass.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my
People, I think it's more
God.
fanboy stuff, but it's just like
Welfare.
you should, if you're a sensible human being and you're a gamer. Gaming is an expensive hobby, and you should be looking for ways to make that hobby as cost efficient as possible. The fact that people spend money and boast about it, it's not like cribs. It's not, we're not going to. I know people like to show stuff up, but it's just like a whole kind of, I don't know. It's like gold. Video games become gold chains and stuff like that, isn't it? It's just very strange to me. Whereas I've talked before about my bargain hunting on eBay, and I'll look for stuff that's in the under £2 category. I'm always looking for a bargain, um, and Saru really is that. You can get them at a very decent price, and yeah, as you say, mate, the stuff that we're seeing, the zero point 0.7 update was a phenomenal update. I think when we did the podcast that went out recently, we were talking about
Aye.
update how we would update the memory, and obviously now we've got that answer, which is fantastic. Really good to see that, and it's almost like unlimited memory. It's like millions of blocks free, isn't it? Which is hilarious. So you know, it's getting to a point of maturity now where it really is a worthwhile investment. Would you put it above the other ODEs? It depends what you're using it for, really.
Exactly.
Because if you want to play a lot of the homebrew stuff, then it can be quite it can be a bit more hit and miss with the software. But if you want to play retail games, especially if you want to play expanded round cart games, and you don't want to either buy an official RAM card, which are quite expensive now, and you don't want to buy an action replay, which, to be honest, all come with the same risks and caveats that's coming with a SARU card. So if you're getting a decent SARU card, then you're sorted there. Quite honestly, the only drawback I can see for it is playing online, because obviously
Mhm.
it takes up the modem slot. But in reality, if you just want to play the retail games, I think this is the solution. You know, it
Aye.
it plays retail games. It loads them quickly. It loads the RAM cart games. And if you're not bothered about playing online, I mean, it's really the super super diehard Saturn fans that are going to be like us, that are going to be playing online. They're going to be playing the homebrew games. But if you've just got if you've just got an interest in Sega Saturn, maybe a lapsed Saturn fan, or maybe you want to see what all the fuss is about, and the library has previously been too expensive to out of reach, this is perfect.
And that's it as well, mate. You've got to remember that not everybody is an enthusiast, right? We're enthusiasts. The Shiro guys are enthusiasts, right? But you've got to tailor your message to a wider audience as well. And I think at times Saru is guilty of being judged from an enthusiast's angle. And that's why I think what we've done is you take a step back and you look at Saru on its merits for like an everyday gamer, just someone who wants to play a Saturn without. They're not interested in online. They're not interested in homebrew. They don't probably even know what homebrew is. Like we're so entrenched in that kind of that community and that scene that we know what's going on. But there's going to be plenty of people out there that aren't. That they don't care. They don't want to play Cold Case. They don't want to play Cube Cat. They don't want. And as great as these projects are, we sit and we fawn over homebrew stuff and go, "Oh, look at that! It's amazing!" Like Frogbill using VDP2 to make transparent fog on a Crash Bandicoot demo. But there's people out there that don't care about that.
They don't even know what
And
VDP2 is.
exactly, mate. And I think that's what's important. You've got to tailor the message for the wider audience, and I think that's what we do and do well. We don't just zero in on the enthusiast angle. You take a step back and you look at it from a wider perspective, and I think that's like you said, mate. Like people celebrate spending more money, and see if you want to spend money whatever you want. That's your prerogative, man. If you want to spend 300 odd quid in a satiator, that's absolutely fine. I think satiator gets a lot of kudos because of who makes it. If I'm being perfectly honest, I think that's why. I think because Abrasive is held in such high regard in the community, I think because it's his option, and he was the guy to kind of essentially hack Saturn's,
Yeah,
copy protection.
it all
You
comes
know,
from Professor Abrasive, doesn't it? Because he was the one that
yeah,
cracked it. So
exactly.
he's the daddy, really. And yeah, can understand it.
But I think you've just got to take each option on its merits, and like you said, it's. I boot my Japanese Saturn up more because it's got Saru in it. It's like my poor launch day pal Saturn with Fenrir's going, "Oi mate, with me." So, um, but time is of the essence, mate. Whenever your parents and you've got content to make, you need
Absolutely.
every second counts, mate.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think the thing that was just going through my head just now is this: if you've got someone who either doesn't know Saturn or doesn't know Sega, and they're just like, I've heard this Sega Saturn's got some decent games. I missed out on it when I was younger. I was went PlayStation. What would you recommend in terms of playing it? You know, I'm not bothered about owning the physical games. I just want to play Sega Saturn games. Do you say to them, bearing in mind that this person is just basically playing PlayStation 5 or Xbox in the modern day, do you say, right, yeah, mate, just buy the console and then buy this £40 cartridge and you'll be able to play most of what you can, and it will load the games a bit faster too? Or do you say, well, you need to buy this $260 thing that slips into the back of the console, and the reason why you need to spend six times the amount is because of X, Y, and Z, because you need to do this, this, and this. And by that point, they're probably thinking, nah, actually, I'm all right. So it's the good thing about the Sega Saturn ODE scene is that there are options for everyone, and people can choose the option that's best for them. And that's why I think you can't write Saru off, because it will be the best option for someone, and maybe the best option for a lot of people.
Oh, look at Sam. You know, I'm giving Sam that spare Saru, and he's a prime example. He's got all these physical games from back in the day. He's just getting round to unpacking everything and setting it all back up, but he's not got obviously the income to go and buy the games that he missed out on back in the day. So he's not got Panzer Dragoon Saga. He's got Disc One from Sega Saturn magazine, but he's not got Burning Rangers, games that he never got a chance to pick up. And he's not entrenched in the homebrew scene. He's not got a clue what Discord is. He's not on any of these things. And for him, it's the perfect option. Plug it in, SD card, play games. That's it. That's all he wants to do. So, aye, it's been great to see the kind of rise of it, in 2024. And let's see what TP Unix has got in store for 2025.
Absolutely, mate. Exciting stuff, and exciting stuff in all the ODE scenes. But yeah, it's been very encouraging seeing SARU, and who knows, by the time it gets to 1.0, could be the de facto option. We'll see. Coming back to me then, the next one, I'm kind of going back to modern Sega again with this one. This is 2024, but I think we probably can't talk about this without touching on what we saw a little bit in 2025, and that is the return of the king, of the god of Virtua Fighter. So, mate, last year, since Virtua Fighter Ultimate Showdown, it's been a little bit quiet on the Virtua Fighter front, but we have seen the leaks to say that a new Virtua Fighter was coming. We finally got that confirmation at the Game Awards, and then following the Game Awards, we had the Virtua Fighter Direct, or the VF Direct, where oh god, I watched all of that. I don't ever watch directs for anything, even but I don't think I've even watched like a Sega one, but I watched that and it was fantastic. I absolutely loved every minute of it. Even when they were talking about all the bump that they jumped, packing in with the like special editions and the limited run versions. But seeing it Sumi and seeing Yu Suzuki come at the end and seeing all these, industry figureheads all talking about how important Virtua Fighter is. It's fantastic. So, we've got the updates to the Ultimate Showdown to 2.0, so that'll be Ultimate Showdown and esports. And then you've got Revo that was announced for Steam for PC, which is I played the beta of that, which the beta was last year, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was because it started straight away. It started as soon as the game was announced. It was like you can play the beta now. So yeah, I was straight in there and sharing my impressions of that. And yeah, it's the best. I think it's the best that Virtua Fighter 5 has played. Brand new update, new balance update, tweaked physics, new moves. It feels super fluid. And then of course the big one was the announcement of Virtua Fighter 6. And obviously we only got like a hair's few seconds of gameplay, but it looked absolutely phenomenal. And then obviously be a bit cheeky and take some of what we saw in the last week, which was at the CES 25
Mm.
in the Nvidia conference. They were talking about Virtua Fighter, and yeah, it Virtua Fighter 6. I know it was kind of a proof of concept, and I think that what we saw in the reveal trailer is one further along. Seems to be more in game. I think it said it was in engine, didn't it? Whereas the other
Yeah,
one
it
was.
does.
So
Aye.
that seems to be further along because Akira was using his Baji Kwan moveset in the trailer where he wasn't in the
Aye.
concept demo. But
Yep.
that concept, and
Oh man.
you saw it in the trailer, albeit it's a lot more brief. And you started with the camera panned out, which zoomed into a screen. But the fluidity, and it's just like I could only think of like Neo fighting Agent Smith, like,
Aye.
and I think you hit the nail on the head. This was what Yu Suzuki was aiming for, when he created Virtua Fighter, was that realistic slash kung fu movie feel, and seeing Virtua Fighter move into that, where there isn't really any games at the moment. I don't think there's no boxing games. There hasn't been a fight night for ages. There's that Undisputed game, which I don't know, looks a bit jank. And then, when was the last UFC game? That must be at least half a decade ago. So you don't get realistic fighting games. Dead or Alive, we haven't seen since six, and that was getting more and more kind of wild. Tekken 8 is like an anime game and is just absolutely off the wall. So there really is like a point that Virtua Fighter can just slot into and just really own that scene. And yeah, that's really exciting to me. So that's for me, mate. The return of Virtua Fighter in a big way, brand new Revo version of Virtua Fighter 5, announcement of Virtua Fighter 6. Bring it on.
Right. I mean, what you said about it being like Neo fighting Agent Smith, it kind of that tapped in nicely to what Maximilian Dood said. It's like watching the Matrix without guns, was it he said?
Yeah, that's
you
it.
know, At that, I know the kind of Game Awards footage is newer than the CES stuff, but the CES gameplay or concept demo, the fluidity of that was ridiculous. Like the you couldn't. I'm trying to fathom in my mind how that would control because there was no break in any of that. It was like it was literally like watching like a classic kind of kung fu martial arts movie, like the counting and the dodging, the sweeping of the leg, like the using the backflip to jump back up on their feet and stuff like that. Just everything about it looked insanely realistic. And like we said, it was the tweet I put out. This is what Yu Suzuki's been. This was the vision was realistic martial arts. But the Game Awards reveal was sensational. Don't know why they've got Akira looking like John Marston from Red Dead Redemption, but um, I'll not judge it too much. I'll wait till I play it. But I mean, that's the thing. I find myself back in that position again where I was in 1998, early 99. And I might have to buy a system to play the new Virtua Fighter because um, it's certainly, I don't see it being on Xbox One. Um, I'm hoping it's not going to be a similar story to like recent VF5 updates where it's going to be PC and PS only. So please don't be PS5 only. Don't. It's like that'll be a hard sell. I need to buy a PlayStation 5 for one game, Virtua Fighter. It's like, um, but it looks phenomenal, mate. It's everything about it. It just if you tried to envisage maybe I don't know 2 3 years ago what a new Virtua Fighter would look like I think we all knew RGG were going to take it on. I think that is like the worst kept secret in gaming. It's the work they've done on Yakuza. They've got the blueprint there. For the kind of the combat. It's a natural kind of progression from AM2. Like you said, seeing Yu Suzuki, even though I don't believe he's directly involved, he might be there as an advisor. I'm not
Yeah.
sure, but to see him on screen talking about Virtua Fighter again was it's quite a teeny moment. It's like, but it's just brilliant to see it back, mate. It's going to be the highlight I don't think it'll be ready this year. I can't see it being
No.
finished this year, but they're not even in alpha stage yet. It's still very very early, but just it looks phenomenal. Just totally rooted in realism. I know we'd kind of said that we clocked that might be kind of like super bars or gauges under
Yeah.
the energy bars. Whether they're going to implement that, I don't know. I think in a kind of way, I think they have to do something. I think if it was just completely bare bones, as much as you and I would be completely happy with that, and the majority of Virtua Fighter fans would be, happy with that. I think the kind of the whole esports thing, I think that scene demands that its fighting games have got a wee bit kind of extra. And I think that's the other worry I've got as well is that, see, because Sony own Evo and Virtua Fighter is obviously going to be a big part, a big presence whenever it comes out. That's what makes me wonder if it is going to be PC and PlayStation only. So make it PS4 so I can just go and buy a Pro for like 140 quid in CX. But
No, I
we'll see.
think I think it'll be on everything. I think it'll current gen. I think by everything I mean PC, PlayStation, Xbox Series or whatever next Xbox is. Rumor is might even get in a new Xbox this year or next year. Xbox Prime, but it'll be
Fucking no. There's only one Prime.
um but yeah, and Switch 2 will be on Switch 2. The reason I say that is just because that is the way that the industry is moving. Everything has to be on everything. We've seen it with Square Enix and Final Fantasy with them saying, us being tied into a single platform just doesn't work.
Does
Just
not
doesn't
work.
work.
No.
I think Ultimate Showdown worked because it was given away with PS Plus, and doing it that way meant that it was a massive success for Sega. Everyone that subscribes to PS Plus downloaded that game. There had 20 million players that downloaded it, and a lot of those all bought the content pack. So it was a big thing for Sega. They're not going to want to give the next game away on PS Plus. This is going to be kind of a AAA fighting game. You can see it from what they're targeting. Street Fighter 6 too was, that was post Sony's purchase of Evo. That came off as a previous game that was PS5 only and PC only. I don't think Sega are going to want to get Virtua Fighter into as many hands as possible. And I think the way that they'll go about that is putting it on every single platform. Now, as far as say, kind of how it plays, it's kind of how I hoped it would look. I thought, let's go. Obviously, the days of moon jumps are long gone behind us now. How do you get it even more realistic than Virtua Fighter 5 while still making it fun? And I thought it would have to be something where you kind of have that close combat and you're in the pocket, so to speak. Um, Exchanging blows and blocking and dodging and stuff. And it looked like, at least from the concept demo, and I think from the flashed of gameplay that we got in the trailer, they have that figured out. I'd imagine they'll stick to the same three button setup. No. Maximilian Dude in his video was saying that he thinks that they'll have like context sensitive blocking where you'll just hold the black block button and it still highs and lows, but the difference is in the animation. Or maybe they'll go a step further and make it so that you can parry and stuff easier. Who knows? But I think that is the next logical step. The one thing about the meters that you saw in the leaked screenshot was that they weren't actually in the concept demo. That screenshot was from that concept demo, but they weren't in the video. So they're either added in later, or they didn't exist, or they were removed from that demo.
Playing about with ideas, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, you know, because it was just in the concept, they may not make it into the final game. So we'll see. I hope that they don't. I hope that the thrill of Virtua Fighter stems from the fact that it's fast, furious, and grounded in realism. Because I've got to be honest, mate, playing Revo's beta for that period and all those games, I was on there for an hour until I had to come off. And that was just, it was so exciting just playing that game. It was so exciting playing it online. Up there with Street Fighter 6 at launch. I absolutely loved my time with it. And I still watch, put the footage on, put a snapshot on the channel, and I've uploaded the full session to edited for the loading and waiting times for our members. And I watch it myself because some of the fights, like against a player called Mowgli, who was absolutely whipping my ass at some points, I just find it exciting to watch. And it doesn't need all the kind of the supers and all that sort of over the top stuff. I just think in its core, I think hopefully that's what sells Virtua Fighter to the masses. That's what sells it for Evo, and that's what brings it success, because it is different to everything else out there. Whether it's Mortal Kombat with its stupid X-ray moves, Tekken with its fatal blows, Street Fighter with its ultra attacks and all that. Street Fighter's got like 2 meters. Bring it back to basics and give us some Matrix style fighting. And that's what I'm hoping for, mate.
That's it. You can get the taunts going online like Morpheus. Stop trying to hit me and hit me.
So yeah, I think that's my fourth, isn't it? So I'll bring it back round to you, mate. I think if this is your fourth, I can guess one or two that it might be.
Yes, mate. I'm going to the Dreamcast now, and I'm going to go for GN Martin's Doom 64.
Yeah, what a port that! What a project that is!
Unbelievable. The changes that it's gone through, the addition of bump mapping and dynamic lighting. The bump mapping is absolutely glorious. Now, I believe that bump mapping is a feature that Dreamcast obviously can do, but it wasn't used in any kind of major games. I think the only game that really used it was it Shenmue 2, and one of the
Quite
coins.
possibly.
There was a coin had bump mapping on it, but apart from that, I don't think there's any example of it being used widespread in a game.
Yeah, I tend to. You may remember as well. I vaguely remember it being in some of the interviews in the Sega Saturn magazine when they had the new Challenge conference that they were saying that that was a
Yes.
feature. So yeah, when I read the same thing that no other games really used it, which was really surprising because it was a feature that I think Richard Ledbetter at the time really was talking up.
Hmm. Aye, and you see the different surfaces, like the walls, the floors. It's amazing how alive and how deep each scene looks just because of that bump mapping. Like, as I say, like the walls, the ceilings, the pillars, doorway arches, everything is just beautifully bump mapped. It just you fire off your weapons like your plasma rifle, those big blue orbs go through the scenery and they light up the room, like, and the light travels with the actual orbs that you fire. It's just likewise the demons, if they throw their kind of fireballs back at you, the light just moves with them. It's unbelievable. 16 individual light sources, or 16
Unbelievable.
individual dynamic lights at once, and the thing just sings, it zips along at 60 FPS for the majority of the game now as well, since the kind of the final update. But it plays so well. You've got the codes are in there. You can go to the menu, you can select your level, you can add God mode on, you can give yourself all the keys from the start, the security keys, all the weapons. So if you just want to have a right good laugh and just blitz through it, you have to turn on all the features, the kind of God mode and weapons and keys at the start of each new level. But it's just brilliant to play through the extra levels as well. You've got the lost levels, which are from the Steam version done by Night Dive Studios. You've also got Doom Episode 1, Knee Deep in the Dead, which is like a fan mod version of the original Doom
Yeah.
as well, which brings the Doom 64 graphics to that version of the game. But again, he's used the new techniques for the Dreamcast port to make that look even better. So it's again just a port that was done as a total passion project. Jay and Martin just wanted to see if he could do it. Um, and it stays within the realms of legality because you have to have, retail versions of the game and the ability to compile your own build.
Yeah.
There will be no CDIs provided for this. None. Let that sink in. None. He's never releasing one. And it's not because he's been a dick about it, it's because he doesn't want to get any hassle because the Steam version, which the lost levels are taken from, is still on sale. Like Doom 64 is still on Xbox Marketplace. You can download it with Game Pass. It's still an active retail release. Think, people, before asking. That's why you can't just go, give us link. It doesn't work. You can't do that. So
Yeah.
the instructions on how to compile a build are on JN Martin's website on his GitHub. Um, so don't go there and bombard him asking for links, for God's sake, man. Give the guy peace. He's still actually working away at other little bugs. So although he said it's the final version, there's other wee things that are still he's still kind of trying to tweak. It's one of these things I think he's never going to be totally happy with. I think he's a bit of a perfectionist. But like ourselves, when we edit our videos, mate, we notice wee things and we go back and we change the daftest of things. It'll be the
Yeah.
same. The same for him as well with this. It's such a passion project that he'll notice something and he'll have to change it. He wants it to be perfect, for his own sanity, I suppose, as well.
Yeah.
Because, but it's honestly, we've done loads of videos. I think we've done four. Is it four? We've done three, four. We've followed it quite closely as well, since it kind of first came to light, and I think we might have done 3 or 4 videos, but I'm pretty sure in terms of versions that I've tried, I think Doom 64 by JN Martin is my most loaded image onto my
Yeah.
GDMU. I've lost count of the amount of times I've put Doom 64 on there to try new features and new levels and stuff, but it's really showing. Like, people go, how can an old game from the generation before Dreamcast show the power of it? And it's because it's taken new features, graphical features that were very, very underused or not used at all on Dreamcast whenever it was alive. Bump mapping, dynamic light, and stuff like that that was criminally underused or not used at all. So I just to see it running 60 FPS with all these features, you just can't help but just kind of giggle whenever you see it. It's like one of these. It's like because you flip the camera around and it zips along, and you know yourself whenever you went from playing an FPS on a console to playing it on a PC for the first time. See that
Yeah.
kind of that how you see a PC FPS moving and it takes you back for the first time because you see people flicking the mouse and the screen just flies about the place and
Mm.
the pace you move at and turn everything just so fluid. That's what Doom 64 and the Dreamcast does. It runs like a high end PC version with all these extra bells and whistles. Amazing.
I really need to get a mouse, I think, to play it properly. I've
Mate,
got the keyboard,
I've considered a mouse and keyboard just to play it properly. Do you know that? I really have.
but it really is a sensation. I mean, yeah, you can imagine him, you, like when we watch our videos back, and you have to kind of train. For us, you kind of have to train yourself to try. Otherwise, we'd never publish anything.
No,
And it's like, and you ask me, you're like, oh, you have spotted this, and I'll be like, no, no, no. It's like, I've noticed it. And you imagine that Martin's is the same. But
yeah.
I do like this way of effectively safeguarding these these modifications, these hacks now, and these ports. In that you have to have the retail version. You've seen it with this. You've seen it with another game that we'll talk about, which will probably be the last one we'll talk about. You see it with what's it called? Marvel versus Capcom Infinite. I can't remember what it's called now, but that's another game where the Steam version went on sale and was in the top 10 sellers list, I think, at one point. Um, Obviously not Sega related, but it's a similar scenario where you have to own the actual retail game on PC.
That the one
And
that is that one Max is working
that
on?
Max has been working on, yeah.
Aye.
Infinite Beyond, that's what it's called.
Right, aye.
Yeah. So, the fact that we're doing that, hopefully, you know, means that safeguards a lot of this amazing work that the community is doing, and people really shouldn't put that in jeopardy by asking for ISOs, etc. But yeah, I haven't played as much of this as you, mate, but it is absolutely phenomenal work. The fact that it's based again off the PC version rather than the N64 one. It's, and compare that to the N64 one, and it's absolute night and day. And when you look at some N64 ports that we got throughout the life of the Dreamcast, and they were just nowhere near as polished, and kind of that represented the sort of step up that you get with this game. So absolutely phenomenal work. I'd love to see what Joe Martin does next. Whether that's a Dreamcast project or
Take
not.
take a long holiday, mate. That's what he's going to do.
Yeah.
A big long holiday.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, absolutely phenomenal, mate. Great shout.
Aye.
Uh,
It's amazing. Amazing game. Love it.
Next one for me, and I had to check this because it's had some fantastic updates this year, but I couldn't remember if it started this year. So I was just flicking through the phone just now, just checking our uploads and seeing when this first came onto our channel. X-Men Arcade on the Sega Saturn. Um, was that a New Year one, or was it in 2023 when it started? I can't remember, but regardless of whether it started in 2023 or 2024. It's had some absolutely huge updates in 2024. So that for me is one of the biggest Sega moments. Again, we're talking about another scrolling beat 'em up, another fan project, bringing the iconic Konami scrolling beat 'em up to the Sega Saturn with all the characters, free player support, and honestly, you played this one at the start of 2024, mate, and was blown away. I picked up the next update, which added kind of the third stage and brought the playable character count up to 4, because it added Nightcrawler.
Mhm.
Tried a bit of the free player co-op, albeit, I was controlling all 3 players there. It all just moves so astonishingly quickly. It doesn't drop
Mm.
a beat. It looks. I know. I think there was a few comments around, like from the purists who'd played the arcade version, saying they'd spotted stuff. But to me, it really did feel like the arcade game. It fits the Sega Saturn screen and resolution almost perfectly. It's just an absolute joy, hard as nails, but enormous fun. Love to play it with two other players in real time rather than me trying to work my way through with three pads. But it's just absolutely fantastic, mate. And then the update, I think it was a bigger update that you looked at that came after, which added Dazzler. And the fourth stage, was it the fourth? How many stages did that add? Was it just the fourth, or did we get the fourth and fifth?
We're up to four, so there's 8 stages, including the end battle with Magneto. So we're 50% through the actual levels structure. If you just take it as 1 to 8,
Yeah,
and then we've got all but one character. I think it's just Colossus we're waiting on now,
yeah.
and we'll have the full roster.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic to see how quickly that's come along as well. And this is work that's been ported from the ground up. He hasn't reused assets, he
No.
hasn't taken the source code or anything like that. Absolutely sensational fan project, and yeah, definitely one of my highlights for 2024. And I'd imagine it would be one of yours as well.
Yeah, I definitely it's one that I've been kind of following quite close. And again, you'd picked up one of the updates, like pretty much whenever I was off again on the old paternity leave, as we call it. You'd picked up an update on that. But yeah, he's again, if you look at it as it's kind of progressed, like the first kind of versions all had the same like design of enemies. It was all like the same sentinels. And then as it's progressed, he's added the different coloured sentinels. Now the latest update with Dazzler, you've got the sentinels that come down with the big rocks, and they throw them and they explode and everything. So you've got the kind of the lizard men in the later
Yeah,
levels as well. So he's now adding different enemy types. You've got the is it the third stage, second stage? Is it the second stage? The one that you kind of go through the factory and up and down the
yeah,
lifts. You've got the kind of the wee robot turrets that go up. They kind of go up and down the screen and fire lasers at you and stuff like that. So there's so much being added with each update, and it's been phenomenal to watch that grow. And again, it was a game that would have been perfect for the Saturn, back in the day. And I know you said about arcade purists so all spot, and of course they will, because he's building this for the ground up. He's using no source code, and he's drawing all these assets. He's literally making this game. Again, people go, "Why is it not done yet?" Because he's making it himself. Like, for God's sake. The fact that we're 50% through and have almost all the roster is phenomenal. The thing is, you really need to keep an eye on his channel for updates, because I can't find them on socials. So like, unless you're really keeping an eye on his channel, like, these updates, like, you can go ages without one, and then boom, something will drop. You're like, oh, new character. It's like phenomenal. It's been again, like all the homebrew projects that we're talking about, Final Fight MD, how we watched that grow. It's it's amazing seeing the passion that somebody's put into this project, to add more, to perfect it, to streamline it, to flesh it out. So I definitely X-Men Arcades on the Saturn is absolutely well up there with one of the best stories of last year.
yeah. Just the sheer rate at how that's progressed, and especially since it's been built from the ground up, has just been absolutely sensational. It's been yeah. I played it for the video, and I've been playing the latest build quite a lot just for the fun of it. So can't wait to see what that holds for this year. But definitely one of the biggest stories of 2024. So, mate, we'll come to you for the last one. And I imagine I know what that is. And when we wrote our respective lists, I think we didn't rank these, but this was at number one. So if you
This,
do the
this is
honors.
yeah, it is of course Grand Theft Auto 3 on the Dreamcast. Can't believe I'm saying that. It's out of nowhere. It was just dropped on us just before New Year. That it was in alpha. It was ready to play. Frogbill jumped into the Discord DMs and says to us that it was ready. That to keep an eye out. It's basically it's coming tonight. It's launching at midnight, and true enough, it just Skimp, put the tweet out, and it was ready, and I think it almost broke the community because no one seen it coming. It had gone very quiet, and I think they deliberately kept it quiet because, again, you'd seen the kind of the early footage when they originally got it up and running, and this is probably one of the most impressive in terms of progression because we remember we seen it and it was all purple and black,
Yeah.
right? And then they were adding in the right colours, they got it all that, but then the road was breaking up, the polygons were glitching, big black lines and triangles that were just blacking out on the road and the scenery. It ran at like 6 frames per second or something, and we were still doing updates on it, and you smart asses in the comments. Dreamcast can't do Grand Theft Auto 3, It's like, well, and then it was originally running on a mod, like it was a modified emulator that was using 32 meg of RAM.
Yeah.
So there was talk you were going to have to modify your console and add more RAM, and then that was totally wrong. Ian Michael came out on various kind of videos on Discord as well, saying no, it will run on stock Dreamcast, with the 16 mega RAM, it will run on a stock Dreamcast. It's been optimized. Each build kind of added a bit better performance that we've seen, but then it went really quiet. I would say for what, about 4 months, 5 months,
Yeah, three a
probably.
month, 3 or 4 months, I think.
Yeah, a good chunk of time, and then it just dropped. And wow, it's playable from start to finish. It's only an alpha just now, but it feels a lot closer to being a beta version. It's ridiculously smooth. The radio stations are all in there. They sound great. The voice acting's in there. There's some wee audio glitches, which they're going to obviously iron out. Like the first interaction you get with 8 Ball, it's I know I played today, the lad, when we lay low. It's like, you better drive, brother. It's like, there's some glitches, but again, it's an alpha build. In the main, the audio plays brilliant in cutscenes in the game as well. But there's loads of graphical options as well. You can tweak, so you can turn up and down the density of the traffic, the density of the kind of the people that walk around the city. I believe it's that menu is the PC version's menu because
Yeah,
it's
it
still
is.
using PC assets. So from what I gather, reading up on the DCA3 Discord, is that the setting of 1 on the PC version, so 1 out, I think it goes to 8 or 10. So the setting of 1 is what the PS2 version runs at. 1, right? So the Dreamcast version by default runs at 2. So you can kind of gain performance by turning it down to match the PS2 version by putting it to 1. One of the comments I've seen on the the DCA Discord that made me laugh was, "There's no need to turn that up. It's not a major European city you're walking about." I thought that was quite funny. It's like it's just a neighbourhood. You're not going to have an abundance of people walking about a neighbourhood. When
Hmm.
you go to the shops, mate, you don't see like 400 people walking about. But you can turn it down to 1 um, on each of those for the traffic and the population kind of aspect. You can also turn off the frame limiter as well, so you can let it run uncapped. And again, you'll maybe get a wee bit of performance gain there. The VMU just now shows you all your stats for your system. So it's like SH4 usage, Power VR usage. It tells you everything, RAM, the works, it got a breakdown, frames per second. In the main, the game runs at between 20. If I turn frame limiter off and turn the traffic and the population down to 1, then it easily runs between 20 and 25. It pretty much for majority of the time I've played it. You get some very mild dips into the kind of late teens if you happen to come across a part where there's maybe a kind of condensed kind of traffic, maybe traffic lights or something like that. But whenever you're on foot, mate, the lighting is glorious as well. Like the traffic lights, the street lights, and just looks. I mean, it looks incredible. And Falco Gurgis has recently said on X that the next update that they're doing is going to have two times anti-aliasing as well. So they're not finished.
No.
The graphical aspect of it, they're still working on it, and I believe that the plan is to use lower resolution or lower polygon count models. So swapping it out the PC assets for PS2 ones, if I remember reading that. So you'll get performance gains there as well, because you're taking away the strain of having to render higher resolution, more detailed characters. So again, they're staying within the legal side of it, because you have to own a copy of the PC
Yeah.
version of Grand Theft Auto 3 and then use the files to essentially mod that to make a Dreamcast version to compile it. Um, but it's just I still seem surreal when I go in my open menu and I've got Grand Theft Auto 3 sitting there, and it's not like one of the kind of the earlier builds that were still clearly work in progress. This could easily pass for a retail version. Even allowing for the audio bugs, just at a glance, playing it, looking at it, trying it out, just plays brilliant. Like I played it for about 2 hours, mate. I was just like, this is brilliant. Like just, and I remember my wife actually came downstairs to see me playing it. She went, "Is that Grand Theft Auto 3?" Even she knew what it was, and I was like, I'm playing it on my Dreamcast. Yeehaw! It's like amazing.
Yeah, incredible. And it's like I was saying to you, it was February last year when we made the video should have been on Sega, and Grand Theft Auto 3 was one of the ones that was on that list, obviously. And yeah, to see that actually 11 months later it would actually manifest in a playable alpha build where you could play through the whole game is completely surreal. I've seen a lot of people say it's an impossible port, which doesn't quite sit well with me because I think that does a disservice to the Sega Dreamcast hardware. I don't want to say, because it does underline the amount of work that the team have done, which is absolutely phenomenal, in terms of Impossible Port. But, we always said that the Dreamcast could do it, is what I'm kind of getting at here. When we had that conversation, I was talking about how it was, it was running on an iPhone 3 and iPhone 4 at the time. I'm pretty sure it was iPhone 4, which, if the iPhone 4 could do it, then surely the Dreamcast could do a version of it. And lo and behold, here we are. It's an absolutely sensational port. And not only does it speak about the talent that was involved in that, but also just the sheer collaboration from all these different people that have worked on this, Skimp, you've got Falco, got Frogball. There's so many people that have been involved with this, and it really is extremely heartwarming. The game itself is a triumph, but for so many members of the community to band together to create something like this is absolutely stellar. And to turn it from that video that I did on, it was the homebrew update, that, and it had Quake and GTA 3 in it, as well as the Super Sega. um,
Oh, let's no talk about
that was well, yeah, that's certainly not a highlight from 2024,
that.
but
No, it's Super Sega. It's Super Sega. It's like, oh mate.
um, but yeah, so that was in the summer, I think. I think that was in the summer. So for it to get from that kind of that purple proof of concept all the way to where it is now, absolutely sensational. Really a credit to absolutely everyone involved in that. And it's like we've always been saying, the Dreamcast has always been capable of more,
Yeah.
always been capable. In my opinion, the hardware was capable of this port. Now we're seeing it. It wasn't so much it was impossible. It was this hardware could definitely do it, but the effort to do the effort to undertake that sort of project is kind of the impossible side. I didn't think anyone would kind of really take something of that size on. And you and I have had conversations with some other developers who've said that no one would ever take on a project for, we were talking about Scud Race at the time. They wouldn't do it. No one would do it because there's no reward in doing it for them. I think that turns that argument on its head. People could do it if they felt the inclination to it, and people have felt that they have wanted to do this. I think the Dreamcast scene, we've said it before in previous years, it has been very much kind of like Flash sort of games, very kind of, very games that were very indie in nature to the point where they didn't really push the Dreamcast. Now we've got something that says, right, this is what the Dreamcast could really do. So yeah, it's a success on so many fronts, mate. When you step back and really take a look at what has been achieved with this port, it's just on another level to almost anything out of there. I don't think there's been many other ports to the sheer scale of this,
Hmm.
the sheer technical achievement. Not just we all knew that the Dreamcast could do Dream GTA 4 could do GTA 3, but outperforming the PlayStation 2 in some ways.
Ah,
And as Falco's billboard says, fuck the PS2.
that's hilarious, man. Honestly, you need to put that on screen during the edit, mate. Honestly, and to let people see that because it's hilarious. Falco's Discord bio banner is Claude with a billboard. Fuck the PS2. Um, but it's we've said it for how long that the Dreamcast it was common sense, mate, because the machine was discontinued, but it was less than 3 years on the global market. You know, and I know, and everyone knows, whenever a console gets to year 4, 5, maybe 6 at a push, developers know every nip, tuck, inch of the hardware. They know how to get the best out of it. And we were denied that with the Dreamcast. And for these guys, this team, and I'll read out all the names of the members. It's a substantial team. But I was actually talking to Falco on Discord DM about the kind of the homebrew scene in Dreamcast and the kind of the turnarounds. And I'm just going to read a little bit out about his own kind of part in it because he's played a major part in getting, you know, the Dreamcast homebrew scene to a point where it's able to even consider doing games like this. Because he says, I joined Team KOS, that's the Callisti OS SDK, about 2 years ago and found it in super rough shape. Half of the C and C++ standard libraries were broken, tools were out of date, compilers were ancient. I put a good year or two of my life into trying to get the KOS all cleaned up to where it is now. So this is again someone who, out of absolute passion for, the system, looked at this OS and went, "This is not performing to the way we know it can." And now we've got this OS that is, it's powerful as hell. It's the SDKs on this. It's arguably doing things beyond even what the retail SDK was doing.
Yeah.
But I mean, the development team, you've got Axel Gear 89, you've got Div 22, Espero, Falco, Gurgis, Frogbill, Ian Michael, Iridian, Jackson, Nisan, PGTA, Phenom, Skimp, Sonic CD 123, and SWAT. I mean, what a team to assemble, you know what I mean? And it's again, you often kind of hear about more like kind of not so much rivalries, but that people are quite kind of siloed in their projects. But this is a team of people who, and there's names on there that if you're in the scene, you know them straight away. These guys like Espero, he's the guy that does the Dead or Alive 3 mods on Dreamcast as well. DOA 3 Ultimate on Dead or Alive 2 for Dreamcast. They've all come together with this one common goal of bringing GTA onto the Dreamcast. And my God, man, what a job. I mean, even the team of testers as well. Like there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, almost 20 testers, one of which is Derek. Derek Pascarella's on there as well. Again, another name well known, good friend of the channel. So amazing. What an effort by everybody to make this a possibility, to make it a reality.
Yeah, absolutely sensational. And wow, you just think that this is, the crowning homebrew, and that's not to disrespect anything that came before, because everything we've seen on the Dreamcast scene is amazing and pretty. But this is such a a pooling of people, such a huge sprawling project. GTA 3 is a big game. Not maybe not by modern standards, but back in the
Um,
day, it's a a lot of stuff there to move over. Um, and the fact that people have come together like this, that they've turned it around so quickly, that it's been such a success, it really does feel like the best moment of 2024. Especially, and Doom 64 probably does run it pretty close because that itself,
mhm.
so much content in there. But all of the homebrew stuff, to be honest, mate, has been sensational. But GTA 3 just really is one of those things that we never thought we'd see, just because of the amount of effort and work that would be required to bring it over, and just some very dedicated, talented people. And reading Falco's updates is really enlightening, especially when he talks about some of the instruction sets that the SH4 has that just don't seem like they were ever used, and they're able
Hmm.
to kind of get all these little performance gains out of it. And it just seems like the Sega Dreamcast maybe was even more powerful than even we thought. Maybe not in terms of raw power, but in terms of like the little nips and tucks. And as you say, mate, if we got to year four of the console, it's probably stuff that would have been more widely exploited. But as it is, 2001, it was shuttered, and no one really gave it a second look until really now. And yeah, it's really enlightening seeing what Falco was saying about what the hardware is capable of.
Mm. I mean, they've essentially just kicked the door down. It's like you always had this idea, this kind of like preconception of what Dreamcast homebrew was like. And I think with Doom 64 and GTA 3, like they've just kicked the door down. Like where could we go going forward? Like that's the exciting thing. Like because like Dreamcast has always been that machine that we knew the potential was there and it hadn't been tapped. Like where is it going to go? Like people are jokingly going, "Oh, give us Virtua Fighter 4." It's like, well, you know, it's an Naomi 2 game. I mean, if someone can reverse engineer, you know, code for that, I don't know if it's ever a possibility, but I think, they have definitely kicked the door down in terms of what we thought was possible. Where it goes for here, mate, who knows? But 2025, someone replied in the video. Was it a video that was on the X? I put a tweet out about the untapped potential of Dreamcast in the homebrew scene, and someone replied, "What's next?" And that's the thing, mate. We don't know, and that's the exciting thing. Who knows what we're going to get?
Yeah, could be anything, mate. Could be, if reverse engineering Virtua Fighter 4 would be difficult. Can you imagine if Sega released a retail version of like a comp? That's what we'd love to see, as a compilation of like all the Virtua Fighters as we lead up to the new one, and then someone reverse engineers Virtua Fighter 4 out of that, brings it to the Dreamcast. I mean, we all want Scud Race as well, so.
Yeah,
But yeah, the door has been well and truly kicked down now. But yeah, 2024, I thought was a fantastic year for Sega, and the Sega scene and Sega themselves, I think, are going into 2025 with a lot of goodwill. The homebrew scene is bustling. I think every year we think that the homebrew scene can't get much better, and every year we're proven wrong.
it's like, well, it'll never get better than this.
Yeah.
Sitting next year going, can't believe I'm playing Scud Race on my Dreamcast.
But I just think the people involved, they skill up basically. They get more knowledge and experience, and they get better, and more people get introduced to get involved in the scene, and it just grows and grows and grows. So the homebrew scene's been fantastic. The hardware, SARU has been fantastic. Modern Sega is in the retail world, been fantastic. It's it was a pretty good year last year, mate. Not gonna lie.
Certainly was, mate. It kept us busy.
Yeah, it did. And I don't think we're going to be getting a break anytime soon. I've still got to record some Shinobi Neo Geo footage. We're only what 2 weeks into 2024, and we've already got a bunch of homebrew games that you need to get on top of.
It's easy, mate. Never ends.
Cool. Well, I think we'll leave it there and we'll open it up to you guys, our listeners and our audience. Get involved in the comments below, the chat below, or the Radio Sega Discord, or the Sega Guys Discord. Let us know what your favorite Sega moments were from 2024 and what you're looking forward to in 2025. And if you've enjoyed this video on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe because that really helps the channel. And if you want to be extra mega, why don't you become a Sega Guys member with a bunch of awesome perks from as little as 99p, including getting your name read out at the end of our credits, as James is about to right now.
Yeah, and I think what I'm going to do is because we're kicking off the year and it's a year of 2024 review, I'm going to give everybody in our membership pool a mention because they were all part of the journey last year as well. So we've got Alistair Downs, we've got Gigi, Martin Whitehouse, G-Man, Stiff Peaks, I Am Mikowski, Temjin 44, Craig Williamson, Sega Saturn Shiro, Dean Howarth, Brendotron, Mr. DJP, Resident SD, P-Wall, Tom Fum, Peter007, Saint RG, Sharkers Retrobytes, Stubbs Gaming, Joey Pajamas, Andy Mackey, Nick Tullock, Greg Matthews, UK Dazarus, and two new members we have Craig Sayer and Lord Innit. So thank you very, very much to everyone for your continued support, whether you're a subscriber or a member. And again, if a monthly membership's not your thing, no problem at all. We appreciate your support and liking, sharing, subscribing, getting involved in the comments, the community posts. Any interaction and engagement that you guys give us is always warmly appreciated. And the journey to 10K is almost over, mate. We're almost there. And
Yeah,
it's been a big push. And can't believe the support we've had from our community that continues to grow. So thank you very much, everyone.
yeah, indeed. Yeah, just the time of asking about 510 subscribers away from 10K, which is unbelievable, got to be honest. So completely grateful and humbled by everyone's support. So thank you very much. And if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, we will see you on the Sega side.
Sega!